We're going to focus on cost, volume, profit analysis in this video. Cost behavior describes the way total cost behaves or changes when some measure of activity changes. So we produce more goods, variable costs go up, fixed costs stay the same, and that holds true within a relevant range. But there comes a point that the fixed costs change, or maybe even the variable costs change. But say you're producing 15,000 units, you have equipment that's capable of producing 20,000 units. So your relevant range is up to 20,000 units. When you get to 20,000 units, you need more equipment, so your fixed costs go up. So that's at least one way to think of relevant range. So we always have to remember that we're within that range. So all of our analysis happens within a relevant range. There are several assumptions of cost, volume, profit analysis to make it work. I'll let you read those, make sure you understand them. A simplified example, we have one type and one size of coffee. The price is $5 per unit. Variable costs are $1 per unit. Fixed costs are $12,000 per month. So here is the graph. We can see on this that, if I can get my cursor moving here, so we can identify the break-even point. 10,000 units, $50,000 of revenue, and that covers our fixed costs of $12,000 and our variable costs. So here is the break-even point. After the break-even point, it's profit. Before the break-even point, it's loss. The lower down the line, the bigger the loss. The farther up the line, the bigger the profit. And then we get to our, and then we have relevant range issues at some point. Break-even analysis is a special case of the simplest form of cost, volume, profit analysis. The goal of break-even analysis is just to determine the level of sales in either units or total sales needed to break even or earn zero profit. There's three ways that it can be calculated. One is the profit equation method. The second is the unit contribution margin method. And the third is the contribution margin ratio method. The profit equation method, the equation is total sales revenue minus total variable cost minus fixed costs equals profit. And here's how you just make sure you can do the math. The profit, this is all the profit equation method. The unit contribution margin method, we have variable costs, so each unit contributes $4 to cover the fixed costs, which are $40,000. So we solve for Q, which is going to be 10,000 units, and the unit contribution target profit analysis, contribution margin method. It's just make sure you trace that through. I'm thinking of the ratio method. That's why I paused. So just make sure you can follow these examples through in the math. Here's the ratio. And you just calculate the variable cost, the ratio it is the selling price, so it's 20%. And then you use percentages to calculate the break-even point. So, like I said, I try not to read the slides with math and the tables because sometimes that's a little messy, and you can study those. Because if you don't study them on your own, you're not going to understand it regardless. So the margin of safety is the difference between actual or budgeted sales and the break-even point. So if the break-even point is 10,000 units and our budget is for 12,000 units, then we have 2,000 units of is our margin of safety. So again, make sure you trace this through, make sure you can do the math, because that's what you'll need to be able to do for your homework. Assume the Starbucks manager is considering starting a customer appreciation program that would reward customers by giving them their 10th cup of coffee for free. If all customers participated in this program, the average unit selling price would drop from $5 to $4.50 per unit. In addition, the company would spend an additional $7,500 per month to advertise the rewards program. The manager wants to know how much sales unit or sales volume unit sold is needed to determine a target profit of $26,000. So we're going to do the math. We're going to substitute into the formula the cost. So total fixed cost is $47,500. Target profits $26,000. The unit contribution margin is $350. So it's 21,000 units. Cost structure is defined as the extent to which a company uses fixed costs as opposed to variable costs in its operations. Managers face many decisions that impact cost structure, have implications for cost volume profit analysis. For example, do we use automation or do we use direct labor to perform the operational task? Automation requires a significant investment in fixed costs for equipment and technology, and once resources are allocated to automate, the costs remain for multiple years, even when demand for products or services may decrease. Labor, on the other hand, is a variable cost that is easier to adjust when demand for products or services change. As an example, assume the manager at our hypothetical Starbucks location sees a drop from 10,000 units sold to 7,500 units sold, creating a net loss. The manager is considering two options to increase drive-through capacity: automate or hire part-time labor. Option 1, automate, would increase fixed costs from $40,000 to $44,600 and reduce the average unit price to $480. Option 2, hiring part-time workers, would increase unit variable cost from $1 to $1.50 and fixed costs from $40,000 to $41,000 while keeping unit sales price at $5. The manager believes option 1 would increase drive-through capacity by 3,000 more units than option 2, but is not sure. So we have the profit equation for option 1, and we set that equal to the profit equation for option 2. And we end up with, when we do the math, a quantity of 12,000 units. And this just illustrates that with 12,000 units, they're the same. Degree of operating leverage is calculated by dividing the contribution margin by net operating income. And make sure you can do the math here. This is just an example that I'm not going to read again and again. Multi-product cost volume profit analysis. Product mix is the relative mix of products or services stated in terms of the number of units sold. It is used to compute the weighted average contribution margin per unit. Sales mix is a relative mix of products or services as a percentage of total sales revenue and is used to compute the weighted average contribution margin ratio or contribution margin as a percentage of sales. And here's an example. You can see you work through the math. Just slowly work your way through the math, slide by slide. The examples are in the textbook, and you have access to the slides as well.